and welcome back to another episode of Founder Story. I normally don't read quotes, but today I'm going to start with a quote. As a kid, I thought everyone discussed monetary policy at family dinners. This guest today is in Amazon's #1 financial bestseller. Align Wealth Advisors Investment Management is his company. Ivan Ilan has also been featured in tons of media globally, but since 13 years old, he has been in the finance space, and I have a ton of questions. But Ivan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dan. Good to be with you.
So Ivan, finance seems to be one of those topics that breaks up marriages, that breaks up business relationships. It's something a lot of people have a hard time talking about. Can you tell me your experiences as to why you think that is?
Yeah, money has a lot of, it's highly charged. I mean, people want it, they want more of it. When they don't have a lot of it, they want a little bit more. When they have a lot of it, they want a lot more, usually. It's it's like the third rail of dinner conversations. You never talk about religion, sex, or money, and it squarely fits, to that, that ethos of being a really difficult topic, certainly amongst family members and with important conversations that need to be had, usually within families about money, like budgeting. It's very, very challenging, especially probably now more than ever with Instagram and social media, and you see all these, everybody seems to be on a private jet. I don't know how it's possible, but everybody's on a private jet and everybody's vacationing in Mykonos. It seems kind of amazing, but maybe a lot of that is green screen or just fake jets, which I think we've learned some of that is what's going on. But we live in a consumption society, so it's tough talking about money.
So walk us through your story of going from 13 years old, starting with trading, I believe, to where you are today.
Yeah, I bought my first stock when I was 13 years old, and that really came after really a few years of reading the Wall Street Journal and talking with my grandfather, who was just a great economist and was a former Treasury Secretary of a Caribbean nation. So I really had this incredible entree into the world of economics and business, and so I'd go to him and I'd say, he was from Cuba, so I said, "Abuelo, why don't you make any, real money from having all this really great knowledge and experience in economics?" And he would say to me, "Ivancito, that isn't for me to do. That's for you to do." And that really stuck with me at a young age, and so I started ordering annual reports from the Wall Street Journal, from the New York Stock, all these New York Stock Exchange listed companies, and I would read the annual report, and then I would make a presentation to my grandfather, and he would say, "Oh, that's interesting," or "That doesn't make any sense to me," and that was really the beginning, and so I built enough confidence to go to my father at the ripe age of 13 and say, "Hey, I heard you have a college fund for me. I would love it if you'd let me manage it, and if I do well, I can go to college. If I don't do well, I'll have to figure things out." And he said, "Sure, if you think you can handle it." And that's one of the powerful things of being a parent that empowers a kid. Certainly changed my life and changed my whole experience of what it means to be in control of your own life and getting those life lessons early on. So that's pretty powerful.
What would you say to other parents about great things that they can teach their kids around economics and money? I think this is really important. I remember back in school, they taught us how to bake a cake, but they didn't teach us about how to balance your checkbook or how to do anything with your finances or how to make more money from trading stocks. And I'm sure it's different now, but what do you say to other parents or families around how do you have this conversation around money, making money, things around economics with their kids?
That's a huge question, and I think a lot of families struggle with how to talk about money with their family members, even amongst the spouses. Forget about the kids. I mean, that's a whole other discussion. I think from my perspective, what's always been the easiest and also the most difficult is looking at a household budget. It's so simple. It's so plain. I mean, it's a spreadsheet and there's a line item of different expenses and there's a line item of where the money is coming from and income. If you really want to educate the family as a whole about what's going on, huddling around a budget, it doesn't have to be every month or even every quarter, but if you have this annual exercise of getting around what a household budget actually looks like, it blows a kid's mind, because kids don't really understand money anyway. I mean, it's sort of this abstract thing. There's a clear understanding that if you have a lot of it, you can buy more things, more candy, more toys. But when you start to break out like all of the different ways in which money comes in, or maybe the few ways money comes in and the many ways money goes out, it makes everyone in the family a little bit more interested in what is everybody spending money on, or oh, I had no idea that costs that much. Is that really worth it? And of course, the downside of doing this is now you've opened up your budget to the criticism and feedback of every family member. The good news is you now have engagement across all the different family members, and that usually makes it better to manage to a certain outcome, especially if you're looking to rein back spending. That is a pretty surefire way to do it. People tend to get very concerned when they see how much is actually being spent at a household level. They start thinking about themselves and start thinking about the whole.
It's really easy to spend money. It's not always as easy to make money. But I'd like to understand, from your perspective, having this understanding of economics, how do you uncover, or what are you seeing in different emerging opportunities in business right now?
Well, I mean, in general, I mean, our approach at our firm at Align Wealth is to be looking at the entire world. We do live in a global economy. We certainly have seen the economies of nations transform dramatically from even just 20 years ago, with the advent of the internet and internet commerce. Supply chains, all these things have changed. So when we evaluate where to allocate our clients' money, we're looking at the entire globe, both on the equity side, stock markets around the world, of course, first and foremost here in the US, and then also considering bond markets all around the world. And then the third is cash. And there are times when you want to have more cash because you're really concerned about what you see happening in the stock market. And so you don't want to have as much exposure to stocks anywhere in the world. You want to have more cash, or maybe you want to have more bonds. But if we learned anything, something like last year where interest rates went up very rapidly, I had published some articles in Forbes, 2, 3 years ago talking about our concern about very rapidly rising interest rates. And at the time, there was very few people saying anything of that sort, and no one was really concerned about it. We were very concerned about it based on our research. And sure enough, that did happen. And it was very disturbing for people that did own bonds, who thought their bonds were safe. And this is very much, I think, part of the core of our own philosophy, which is if you don't understand what you own in your portfolio, in your investments, don't be surprised when it performs in a way that you didn't expect. And so it really is about education. I mean, we spend a tremendous amount of time educating our clients, making sure they understand why they own the things they own in their portfolio, but also what is our forecast? What is our outlook? What are the things that we're very concerned about? Because ultimately, we want people to sleep well at night. We don't want them worrying about things. And it tends to be that people worry about things when something happens unexpectedly and they didn't feel prepared for it. But if you are prepared for something not so great to happen in the markets, then you can handle it better intellectually, mentally. You can weather it, especially if you've been already prepped with some education around why we may be in a very volatile time.
It sounds like you have a very unique approach, looking ahead getting ahead of things when you can. So if somebody wants to find out more information about how they can get in touch with you, if they need to have their wealth management services, how can they do so?
And we provide no obligation initial consultations and portfolio audits for anyone who would like our perspective or review. And they can visit alignwealth.com. That's ALIGNE wealth.com. And we have a contact form and they can submit it through there, and someone on the team will reach out to them right away.
Well, Ivan, this has been great. By the way, I went to Cuba one time. Incredible people. We were walking down the street and they invited us to a party, an outdoor party. Didn't know the people. They,
Amazing.
it was amazing. Like, great people. But thank you so much for being here today. I learned a lot. Money is one of those things I want to get better at. I need to learn. I need to seek someone that has the knowledge like yourself. So thank you so much for being here today on Founder Story. And I really hope that we can talk to you again and really dive in, because economics, I mean, this stuff is, we need to know this information. And it's like every day new information. It's very overwhelming.
Thank you, Dan.